couldn't walk or do anything. I mean, just tried to drink my last drink of whiskey and I couldn't even get it down. I ended up throwing up into my hand. It was like coffee grounds. It wasn't even blood anymore. And I was like, oh, this is real bad. So
Hi guys, I have Matt here today and we are going to talk about his journey. He's been sober for a little over 4 years now. And Matt, you mentioned that you got March 31st was the day that you called the ambulance?
yeah, 2021.
2021. So can you take us back to that day? Like what happened?
Couldn't walk or do anything. I mean, I just tried to drink my last drink of whiskey and I couldn't even get it down. I ended up throwing up into my hand. It was like coffee grounds. It wasn't even blood anymore. And I was like, oh, this is real bad. So I finally called an ambulance and they called me.
Man. And so you were kind of like, you gave me quite a bit of information and I really want you to share your story with us. So your addiction, it sounds like you had some brothers that also died from addiction or overdoses.
Well, they both died from morphine overdoses, but one was actually in the hospital and the other one was on my mom's floor. But I don't know if it was just, neither one of them drank though. Nobody in my family, not even, I can't think of one person in my family that drinks. Except for now, I got two second cousins, both. One got cirrhosis and getting a liver transplant just like a month ago. And then my other cousin on the other side of my family, second cousin, he's 26 and he got cirrhosis pretty bad too. It's kind of weird.
Wow.
Young.
Oh. So you also shared your medical stuff with me. So that day that you called the ambulance and you were puking out coffee grounds, is that the day that you realized that you might have a problem with alcohol, or did you know before?
I think I was trying to think back before I got on here to think when I actually fully became an actual alcoholic. And, when I got out of the hospital, I had to fill all these applications or just like, papers and stuff. And I kept writing 2012 on everything. Like, that's all I could remember. So I'm guessing that's when I got real bad around 2012 was when I got fully addicted. But I started drinking. I've been drinking my whole life, basically. But I was like a norm or whatever you guys call it for a long, long time. Like, just drink every now and then, go to the bar. I mean, it was never a problem to where I even addressed it as I even thought about it. But I guess around 33, that's the first time I ever tried to quit.
You ever tried to quit?
My friend took a picture of me. I don't usually, I don't take many pictures, so I didn't even realize. I saw the picture how fat and bloated and red I was. I was like, oh man, this is so. That was good. But I had help. I mean, I didn't go to the hospital. I had help because I started taking Valiant. And that's how I quit the first. Off the street, I didn't get a doctor prescribed. I was too afraid of going to the hospital. But it worked.
Your early life, you moved around the U.S. You lived in a tent.
Yeah, that was in Idaho, actually. I was in Portland.
Oh, up north from me. And you were homeless in San Francisco?
Well, that's when I was super young. I was like 18, 19. I just took off there, tried to start a career in skateboarding, which didn't really work out too. I ended up being like one of the water kids. I was hanging out with a bunch of people that were shooting heroin, but I was, I just drank. I didn't do any drugs. I did a lot of drugs when I was young, like 12 to 20. I experimented like pretty much like normal, I'd say, I guess, for whatever. But yeah, I mean, I had my first panic attack from marijuana when I was 20, and I never did any drugs after that, other than when I started doing Valium to quit drinking.
So you had a panic attack from smoking weed or eating it, drinking it. I don't know what everybody does nowadays. But you know how many people 27 years ago, you know how many people say to smoke weed instead of drinking because it's better for you or it helps your anxiety? I was just talking to somebody about this and they're like, it makes my anxiety worse. I'm like, it's always made my anxiety worse. I could see where that panic attack could come because you get so paranoid and it's just, I don't know. It's not for everybody.
I thought I was having a heart attack. I went to the hospital and they gave me some placebos. It's kind of weird. They didn't have internet back then, but somehow I can't even remember how I figured it out. But I got a book or something with the medical stuff in there. And I was like, wait, this is a placebo. It's like a sugar pill. So then, it didn't really work, because I knew what it was.
Right.
So I was kind of screwed myself on that one, finding out. It was in my whole family. Everybody on my mom's side had pretty bad panic attacks and usually started around 20 years old.
Oh, wow. So, like, how were those early experiences and how do you think they shaped your view of life?
What do you mean?
Like, all those, you were living in a tent, you were homeless in San Francisco, and then the people that you were around. How do you think that, like, shaped your life?
I don't understand the question.
Like,
I've lived like 8 different lives. I've been 8 different people. I've lived a crazy life. I don't know if you want to start from the beginning or I don't know.
Yeah, let's start from the very beginning.
Well, I mean, I grew up in like the city of Norwood and Cincinnati is like little outskirts. And my actual first time drinking, I was like 9. Me and my friends were walking through the woods and we found a home bums campsite because we were right on the railroad tracks. And we'd drink, steal their beer and look at porn magazines back then. That's all.
That's so funny that you bring that up, not to interrupt you, but I grew up in a small town where there was train tracks and we would find the same magazines by the railroad tracks in the tunnels.
Like all the homeless guys would hit on trains and they'd have little camps and they'd have booze. And I mean, that's the first time I ever tasted beer. But first time I ever got drunk, me and my buddies, me and my 2 other buddies, his older brother bought us like a case of beer and some Boone's Farm. I was like 12 years old. And we started walking around and the cops come up to us. Like I got arrested for it. Drinking underage at 12, and I ended up having to do community service at my mom's nursing home. That was an experience, learning how that worked. Seeing all those old people get tossed away by their families. It's pretty gnarly. So now my mom lives next door to me, and I'm keeping her out of a nursing home. It's kind of a full circle on that one.
So you learned at 12 years old not to put your mom in a nursing home?
Yeah, basically. That's why she made me do it there, I think.
So you were 12 years old and you got in trouble for your first time. What was after that?
The cops took me home and my mom was like, "You're grounded for life," type of thing. But that didn't happen. But after that, I don't know. I had a phase, I was skateboarding all the time. But I mean, I had a phase where, we just drink on the weekends type of thing. And then I guess I really started drinking. I had my son. I was 23 and my dad died in the same year. So that was pretty crazy. My son was born January 6th. My dad died December 31st, 2001. So that kind of kicked me into a little bender, but I mean, I still wasn't alcoholic or anything. But then I moved to Minnesota. I don't know. It's like I had this all playing out in my head now I'm lost in my own story.
So your son was born the same year that your dad died. And your dad died and it kind of put you into a bender, but you, like, at the time of your life, you weren't considering yourself an alcoholic, which a lot of us don't consider ourselves alcoholics.
Well, I mean, sometimes I look back and I would think I was an alcoholic during that point because I don't know, so weird. I met this girl and I ended up meeting her in Seattle. We ended up going to Alaska and I was living with her up there. And I couldn't find her. I haven't seen her 25 years or something. And one day she was trying to find me too, but we couldn't remember how to spell each other's last names. But she was telling me it was the most wholesome time of her life with me. We traveled all the way to New York City. We drove back from Alaska. We drove all around the country. We did all this stuff for like months. And in my mind, I was drunk the whole time. But I got kicked out of Niagara Falls. I jumped over the fence and got up into the falls. And I'm like, I had to be wasted. And she was like, no, it was like literally we were sober the whole time. And I'm like, weird. So yeah, there's like gigantic parts of my life where I didn't drink. But yeah. I don't know. I think with 33 is when, like I said, like just really kicked into gear and I started drinking whiskey. And I heard you talk before about there's no difference between beer and whiskey, but I think the whiskey really made a difference.
Well, and what I'm learning now is there's not even a difference in White Claw because, I mean, I've had several interviews with people that drink White Claws and were addicted to White Claws and had liver failure because of it. So, I mean, I think, in my opinion, and I'm not a scientist, I think, whiskey is definitely stronger and heavier. But
yeah, I mean, I've met 90-year-old barflies that just swore like we just drink beer. I've never met a barfly that 80 or 90 that drank whiskey. But I don't know. This is what it is. I mean, it's stronger and it definitely. Yeah, I guess. I mean, when I did drink beer at some point, I was self-medicating a lot too. I started having what they call migraines when I was like 23. And I think that had a lot of, it started kicking in real hard when I was 30. And I go blind for like 10 minutes. And then afterwards, I see all these weird colors and I go blind, and then I get this real bad headache on one or the other side of my head. And I was, that's what my wife was saying, that I was using that as a big excuse how I really kicked, because I was like, if I get drunk and don't have, it's less painful as much. I've only met one other person that had him. Like, I met him in Washington State, actually, but he was really rich and had a nice trunk. He owned a truck company, but that's how he just sent his boys to do all his jobs, but somehow he managed to quit. He was drinking too, but he quit. But I don't know where I'm going with that.
So your migraines started your drinking, to drinking heavier?
I think self-med. I was talking to my therapist yesterday. I went and saw her. She's new. I had a therapist for like 4 years. He switched jobs, so I got this new lady therapist, and she was telling me that I was self-medicating is what I was doing.
Well, a lot of us do self-medicate. So your alcohol got so bad that it started affecting your liver and your health tremendously.
Yeah, I ended up getting ascites too, and if you want to talk about my health chart, I got cirrhosis, I got ascites, I had pancreatitis, colitis, my gallbladder was bleeding. I was throwing up blood for like 2 years before I went to the hospital. And one of my friends, she died, and she was 38, and I went to her funeral, and her brother was telling me, I was like, what happened? And he's like, she threw up blood, went to the hospital, she ended up getting sepsis, and she's dead the next morning. I was like, whoa, I've been throwing up blood for like a year now. I need to go to the hospital, but I never did it. I just kept drinking. It's crazy.
So what led you to, you called the ambulance, and is that when you got diagnosed with everything?
Yeah. I never went to the hospital. I don't know. I just ended up with severe sepsis in the hospital. I thought that was what's going to kill me. I knew it was bad when the deacon kept coming up every morning into my room praying. Like, they never, all these people on your podcast say that they give them a life, they say, oh, I guess 6 months to live. I don't think doctors really do that. I think they're just reading stuff and guessing. But that's how I knew I was about to die, when that guy kept coming up to my room. And then they never told me, they told my wife I had severe sepsis. And that's when I was like, I guess hallucinating real bad. And I ended up having the cops come there, tackle me to the ground, and had to drug me up and put me down to sleep. It's pretty crazy.
So when you were in the hospital, what were your options?
Thing is, they found out I had ascites, and that was like the first thing. They had to take me to drain. They drained 7 liters out of me the first time. They had to stop because your blood pressure starts going low. And then he was saying, you got so many other issues, we don't even know you have cirrhosis yet. And so they were basically, my white blood count was through the roof. So they were giving, obviously I was DTing at the same time. So they were giving me Librium, which is a benzo. And yeah, they were giving me oxycodone for pain. And they were just, giving me, I hadn't eaten. I hadn't eaten in like a month. I hadn't had water in like a week. That's when I finally ended up calling the ambulance, because I was like, wait a minute, I haven't had water in a week. I haven't had anything, any liquids in my system in a week. I don't know if I should be still alive at this point. So that's what I did. And then, they were giving me IVs of fluids and stuff like that.
So what has your recovery looked like? How terrifying was that when they told you that you had cirrhosis? Like, what was going through your head?
It's kind of weird. I was just thinking like, oh, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. I was like, wait a minute, but there's one guy with having panic attacks and anxiety so bad, you would think I'd be scared out of my mind, but I was at peace. I don't know. I was just, I'm ready to go. I just thought I was dead for sure, and I don't know. It's weird. I was calm. Like, afterwards, like, now my blood pressure is normal. I don't have any anxiety anymore. It's crazy. I'm not promoting alcohol. That my life's been a lot different. In that sense, like, on paper, my health is looking pretty good. But I also got, the worst part about it, everybody else says ascites, but my worst is I got neuropathy at the feet. I was a skateboarder for 30 years. So, I couldn't really walk. It feels like, I try to describe it to people, and this is like the worst part for me. It's like, when you're like, your foot falls asleep and you can't walk at first, you're shaking it, it's all tingly and stuff. Both of mine are like that 24 hours a day. So it's pretty bad.
My grandma says that. It sounds
it's something you get when it's basically, I turned to an 80-year-old man overnight. And when I got out of the hospital, I went in weighing 250 pounds. I came out weighing 144 pounds.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of it was the ascites too, but I also lost, my body was eating itself. I was eating, eating my muscles, and That's why I weighed 144 pounds and I felt like I weighed 400 pounds. Because I had no muscle in it. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
So, like, what was the road to recovery like for you?
Well, I got out of the hospital, and then, I mean, about a month and a half later, I mean, I was sitting there. It was a nightmare being in the hospital, needles coming in and out of me left and right. But when I got home, it was learn how to walk again at first. I mean, and then every week I had to go get my stomach drained because they don't do it here. There was no doctors here that could do it. So I had to go, my wife had to drive an hour and a half each way to go get my stomach drained twice a week. And they're telling me ascites forever. And I'm like, I can't. Whoa, this is, I didn't ever heard of ascites before. It's crazy is when I got down to that room the first time, it was like everybody's getting their oil chains, basically. There were like 20 beds in there, 20 people all getting their stomachs trained at once. I'm like, whoa. Like, that shocked me. And I was like, who had to do, talk to the nurse. She was like, I've had a guy who got 22 liters drained at once. I was like, what? But that's the thing. And yeah, they told me it's going to be forever. And about 6 months later, it started getting less and less. And then one day they're like, you don't have to come back. I was like, whoa. It's been, I've heard other people have to get tip surgeries and all this other stuff to stop it. Like, that's a new kind of surgery, I guess they came up with recently.
I've heard that's terrible.
Yeah, I never even mentioned it to me. But yeah, I guess mine stopped on its own. And so I stopped going to that. But yeah, then I was just kind of walking around the block with a walker and trying to get weight. I ended up drinking those protein shakes, stuff like that. I was basically an 80-year-old overnight.
So when you were in the hospital, like, what was your diagnosis with alcohol? Like, what did they tell you? What did they tell you to do or don't do?
Well, my first liver doctor said, don't drink again or you'll die. And I mean, that was just a given. I mean, last time I started drinking again, I quit when I lived in Vegas, and I ended up working at MGM Grand, setting up like UFC fights and stuff on the weekends and stuff like that. It was a pretty cool job. And I was also working at, what was that, juice company, Ocean Spread. No, I was working at their factory. I just jumped into this job. I was full blown alcoholic. At this point, I was drinking vodka all the time. I forget. I think that was 2017. And I started working. I was working like 60 hours a week there, and then I'd work on the weekends at MGM Grand, and I just quit drinking. Like, I was living with my niece, and I was like, finally, I just, I guess that's one way to quit drinking is just work a lot. But my feet came back. My feet were numb for a while, and then my feet came back. See, now we're going backwards, but my feet came back, and then I was like, sober for a while. I won a couple poker tournaments too there. And I'm like, well, I'm a lot better at poker when I'm not drunk. Then I'm in Vegas, Sin City. It got me again. So I can order one drink. I'll be fine. I just ordered a drink while I was out there gambling, and I was like, this is it. This is going to give me this. And I just kind of had it in my head that I ain't going to be able to quit again, and kind of ran with it.
So that was going backwards, and then that's what led you to the hospital?
That's what led me to, actually, after that, I ended up living in Spokane in an RV. And that was during COVID. And that's when I got my last DUI in 2019, which I just took care of over Zoom. Well, that was a nightmare. But yeah, I was living in a tent, or I was living in an RV in Spokane, and I was kind of already, what's it called, self-distancing. Yeah, so I was just, people are saying they got a lot drunker during COVID, but I mean, I was set up to do it, sit in an RV all day drinking whiskey. And COVID didn't even really affect me. I was already like that bad anyways. So then I was like, I talked to my mom, she's really sick, and she's like, I was going to buy a house out there, and we're house hunting, and I couldn't find one. So she got really sick, and she's like, the house next door should be for sale. So I got on the phone, made some calls, and ended up buying a house over the phone next door, and I couldn't even drive the RV back. I never sell it to the people that own the RV park, and my wife drove back, and about a month later, I was like, I just got to buy this house. Then my family will have a house, and I'll be dead. And that's kind of what happened. I just sat here for about a month, and then that's when I got juked up coffee grinds and was like, take me to the hospital where I'm going to die. I didn't want to die in front of my family or in front of my son. I didn't think I was going there for them to save me. I thought I was going there to die. Right. So when that's a whole nother story.
So how long were you in the hospital for?
A month and a half at least. I believe it. It's a long time. I've never been to the hospital before that other than broken bones in the emergency rooms. It was a long time to be your first in the hospital.
Yeah. So while in there, were you on a liver transplant? Are you on a liver transplant? Like, what's going on with your liver?
I've had 4 liver doctors now. And everybody, 2 of them told me that I had cirrhosis, and 2 of them told me I didn't. So that's been a nightmare figuring that out. I still haven't even got a MELD score. I look at my chart that I showed you every day, and they still haven't even give me a MELD score yet. So I don't know what's going on with all that. And the one liver doctor I went and saw that said he's my first liver doctor is great, but he was retired. He's been doing it 80 years or whatever. He was old. So I had to get a new one. And I got one here in this small little town. And he was like, "You don't have cirrhosis." I was like, "What?" I was like, "I had ascites, had all this other stuff. Look at my chart." And he was like, "No." He's like, "You got fatty liver." I was like, "Wow, I got lucky." I was like, "This is amazing." I was like, I didn't, drinking again never really crossed my mind. I was done. I just thought, because all the doctors kept saying, you're still sober. You still, like, what are you talking about? Of course I'm still sober. But then again, I met some guy like 2 days ago at my buddy's house. I was like, man, he was over there drinking whiskey, and I was like, man, that stuff's bad for you. And he was like, oh, I got excited. He showed me his stomach. I'm like, Jesus. I was like, when's the last time you got drained? He was like, last year. I'm like, what? I thought I was crazy. This guy's just like, fucking, I'm gonna die. He's like, I'm gonna die happy. I was like, wow. I was like, that never even crossed my mind at that point. Once I finally got help, they gave me the detox, and everything. When I got out, but yeah, when I first got out, I still thought I had liver disease and I had cirrhosis and all that. But then I got this new doctor here, and he was like, "You got fatty liver," and I'm just like living my life for like 2 years. Like, cool, I eat healthy, everything's good, I'm gonna be fine. Other than my feet, which is the permanent. It's gonna get worse, not better, is what the doctor said. The neurologist, which I had a lot of MRIs done too afterwards, which to find out about my headaches, but they didn't come up with anything. They said like we got brains. I don't believe that either, but. Yeah. Well.
So, your wife's been with you through this whole entire thing?
Yeah. We've been together 26 years. We're not technically married, but we've been together 26 years. We have a 24-year-old son. So.
And does your wife drink, or has she been like a super amazing supportive?
No, she still drinks. There's always a 12-pack in the fridge. And that's another thing with me is like, I've heard people say that they can't quit with that. I actually just had one of my big bottles of whiskey underneath the sink the whole time. Because to me, a lot of it was, the whole adventure, going out to get it. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but when it's there, I feel like you can't take this away from me. It's mine. I felt safe with it there. And I think it did, eventually steer away. I didn't even know it, but it just felt, I don't know. For me, that worked, I think, to some degree. But I don't know. I honestly just knew I was done when I got to the hospital. I was like, I still thought I was going to die until I got my second liver doctor. So I was living in the fact of, I'm, telling my son, I'm dead, he's crying, we're crying.
Does he drink?
No, he's never touched a drop of anything. Like, he's never done any. I know that, a lot of parents say that, but he's lived with me this whole time. Yeah, I think he's a little on the spectrum with autism too. So he's different. Like, I just don't see it. I mean, I can't take full credit for it by, showing him what not to do, but I kind of think that is kind of what happened to some degree. Like, I don't think he's experimented at all. Like, I think seeing me was enough.
So, and sometimes seeing our parents is enough, but then sometimes we fall into, the parents' footsteps. And I say that a lot in my podcast. Like there was 2 boys and a dad, and one decided not to drink because he watched his father. The other one drank because he watched his father. Like, it just, I don't think there's not a huge rhyme or reason to it. It just,
I mean,
their life.
When he was a baby, I was thinking like, man, how did I handle it? So I took him to the hospital until he got, his throat like swelled up and all this. Rachel's like, you didn't drink. I was like, oh, see, that's what I'm saying. I was in my mind somehow. I hear like, even in my dreams, I'm still drinking all that. It's crazy. But yeah, I didn't drink back then, and luckily. But I mean, now, I think I didn't become an alcoholic really until he was like 12 or something. But when I was dying, he was already 20. So in my mind, it was like, oh, well, I raised him already. I don't know. It was just, I wasn't really content with it, but I was like, well, in my head, I was thinking that. But like I said, I mean, when I got out, I couldn't even I still thought it was 2012. I mean, I wasn't in my right head at all. It took a long time before I even got any of my memory back.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, I take those vitamins. They give me multivitamins and they give me vitamin B and stuff. I guess time too. But 4 years sober. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's lots happened over those 4 years too. But
right. So you mentioned that I'm trying to find 4 years sober, but still feeling in progress. What does that mean?
well,
I think you mentioned you don't have. I think you mentioned. I'm trying to find it. You said your story doesn't have a successful after yet. So what would a happy ending look like for you?
So I don't know. It keeps everything keeps changing. Like I'm in, I've been watching all these, podcasts and stuff now that I just sit at home most of the time. But I'm slow. I can mow the grass because it's kind of like a walker. So I do what I can. I walk my dog sometimes, and I'm still off balance. Uh, yeah, work in progress is just, like I said, my new doctor, he says, he tells me I don't have cirrhosis. So then I go to the third doctor. He's actually at the same hospital. And then he was like, yes, he gave me another test, another ultrasound, same as the last one. And it's like 2 years later. And he's like, yeah, you definitely have cirrhosis. He said, I would estimate your MELD score at a 15 right now. So now new news. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here, So I go to my other doctor that said I didn't have it and schedule an appointment, which takes a couple of months. And that was just recently. I went and saw him again. He was like, he looks at his paperwork. I'm waiting for him to say, because he's like, basically, to the point where he's slapping me around saying, you don't have it, like, get your stuff together, man. You don't have cirrhosis, I'm telling you. So now I'm like thinking in my head, it's 2 years. I'm like, if I can get my feet, if I can, maybe I can go back to work because I'm on Social Security now because of my feet. Obviously, depression and stuff. But, I see a therapist every day for the last 4 years, but working on myself in that too.
I think therapy is a very under talked about tool when it comes to sobriety.
I started getting comfortable with my therapist and he switched jobs. So the new one is kind of weird. She's, I don't know. I've only seen her twice, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the doctor originally told me I didn't have cirrhosis. He was like, "Oh yeah, you do." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "I was like, you told me I didn't. You swore in your soul I didn't." And he's like, "You didn't." I was like, well, I wasn't expecting him to say that. I was expecting him to say, "Oh, I missed it" or something. He said, "You didn't. You got it now." I'm like, "I have it now." He's like, "It happens." It's like he's like, "Some doctors don't believe it." I'm like, "There's no way I could have it. It didn't have it and have it now. I had it the whole time." Yeah. So I was like, what if I started drinking again when he told me I didn't have it? That's pretty irresponsible. But then he said I didn't have it. He still says I didn't have it. I do now. I don't know. I looked it up. I don't think that's possible. I don't know.
So do you think that if you didn't have this incident that you'd still be drinking?
Oh no. I just said that just just trying to call him out on his crap.
Yeah. Well, I meant do you think that you would have wanted to quit drinking have you not had the health problems?
That's what I mean. That's what I was trying to say. The last time I quit, in Vegas, I kind of had a mindset to where I don't know how it happened, but I kind of got in my head, like because it was so hard to quit the last time that if I ever drink again, it's over. I mean, I kind of went into it like that. This is crazy. But, I don't know. I kind of, just half of me says that, but the other half is saying, you're invincible. Look at you. You've been drinking this long. You're fine. You can still drink, And the other half's telling me, it's over. There's no way you quit again. There's nothing you can do about it.
So, going back to my notes, what would you say to someone who's where you were 4 years ago?
I don't know if there's many people out there that was where I was 4 years ago. That's what I'd say. I'd say somebody that's way before that point, don't do it. But I mean, like, go see a doctor. That's where I messed up. I never went and got blood work. I never had the guts. I don't know. I was always afraid. I had, panic and issues, paranoid issues. I don't know. I think if I went to the doctor, I mean, when I quit, it was easy. I mean, I hate to say it. It was simple. It was just like, you're done. I mean, I've never had to drink mocktails or do any of that stuff. I was just done. I mean,
it's just a switch.
Yeah, but it's not, I mean, it's not that simple. I almost had to die for it to happen. It's not like, I wouldn't recommend that way to quit, no, but to nobody. But Yeah, it was just a switch. It just, I was at that point, it's like, even with only maybe, nobody actually told me you only got a year to live or any of that, like other people say, which I don't know if doctors even allowed to say that. I don't know. But I mean, I guess when people get cancer,
Yeah.
they can say, some kind of, but, with the cirrhosis, some doctors say you could live forever, your regular full life with cirrhosis. Then obviously, like my cousin, though, he just, his mom called me like a month ago or 2 months ago. And she was like, he's yellow. What should I do? I was like, take him to the emergency room. And like 6 weeks later, he's home. I would like to say home healthy with a new liver, which he was if you had talked to me 2 days ago. But now he's back in the hospital having problems with his throat. And they can't figure out what's going on with him. He's only 26. I'm like, whoa. If I see, that's another thing people say too, is like, if this would happen to me young or what, I don't know. It's weird. Like, if it happened to me when I was that age, I think I would have kept drinking. I think at 47, I was 43 when I went to the hospital. I was already done anyways. I think I would have quit even if I wouldn't have got sick. Yeah, I mean, you don't know. I mean, you don't.
You don't know. I mean, and that's like, I think so many people just don't realize like how devastating alcohol is on our bodies. And then you mentioned blood work. You're going in and getting blood work. I know a lot of people that go in and get blood work, but are those people honest about their blood work? Did they quit drinking for X amount of, time?
I would drive myself.
Go get their blood work.
I was driving myself crazy looking up statistics. I mean, I was going nuts, and I'm like, these can't be right, and they're not. I guarantee you they're not. Yeah, I mean, you're trusting a bunch of alcoholics to tell you how much they drink. There's no way those statistics are correct. We
know how to fudge the system.
And I know, I mean, this is just to add a little story to it. They were giving me that Librium in the hospital. They're giving me 20 milligram pills, and they would always have me take a test first. They would say, even though I was dying, they were still, taking it serious like that, like addiction and stuff. But, I'd have to answer these weird questions, 20 questions every time. Like often, I can't remember what the questions were, but you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean, well, probably not exactly, but I mean, I guess the one question that we all never answered correctly is
no, the doctor
and how often.
Well, no, the doctors, they give you these weird questions. It's like when you're getting a job, and they ask you all these questions, and then if you get them, whatever, they can tell if you're lying or not.
Oh, yeah.
Like an algorithm kind of test, like.
Yeah.
Like I applied for a job one time at La Rosa's, and I was like, I filled it out all perfectly, and it made myself the most perfect employee ever. And he was like, "Yeah, you did great, except you're lying." And I was like, "Man, those are pretty good," because I was lying. But it was one of those tests. And anyway, so if I failed it, they wouldn't give me a pill, and if I passed it, they'd give me a pill. And I was getting 20, and I take a 20 milligram Librium, which is benzo, like I guess like Xanax or whatever, but it's for alcoholism. And it knocked me out for 10 hours. And then I was kind of out of it. And she gave me the test, and she was handing me this pill. And I looked at it, it was 250 milligrams. I was like, what are you doing? That would kill me. And it was weird. I was just like, wow, I think she's, because I was kind of not a good patient. I was out of my mind a lot of time. Like I said, police came twice, which I don't even know where they came from. There were like 5 cops there. I guess I ripped out my IV and squirted blood everywhere because I was having, I mean, they were treating me like I was a regular, I don't know. I was just out of it. I was hallucinating. And
so how much were you drinking? I mean, like give us a good description of how much you actually were drinking in a day.
Well, I mean, if you go back to like when I started becoming a full-blown alcoholic, like I was 33 and I still lived at the bar, and I didn't sit at home like all the, and I was out partying, having a good time. I mean, I was at the bar every night and spent a lot of money. But I keep saying, but I'm gonna edit that out for sure.
Or don't worry, I say like a million times and people hate it. So.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to watch myself. I watched some of your videos. Other people do that. Was it right? I
say a lot and like a lot.
But anyway, so I was bar hopping a lot and doing all that stuff, and I've lost my train of thought.
Oh, how much, excuse the word. Give an example of how much you actually, what was your daily drinking like that led to this moment?
Yeah, see, when I was bar hopping, I was drinking like random, just anything, my friends, would just hand me booze or whatever, we'd just drink out pitchers and do shots, I never really kept track, Yeah, but I became like, once I was serious about it, I actually would buy like a half gallon, and I would drink a half of one of those a day. And plus, I just use beer as chasers. I always drank Old Crow and Budweiser. And Old Crow, I got down to it because of the price. At least I didn't, some alcoholics get, like my stepdad, he got down to drinking mouthwash and aftershave. At least I never got there. I mean, like you said, it's all bad, but so yeah, I was down to a science on it. So, just because it was at that point when I got, the last 3 years, basically, the last time I started drinking again after Vegas, it was like I was drinking just not to be sick. So I had it down to like a certain amount, and I wasn't partying. That's when it was ugly. The last 3 years. Until that, if you had talked to me 3 years before that, I'd have been like, it's the greatest thing in the world. But yeah, those last 3 years, I was drinking probably, I would say, a liter a night, which isn't that much, really. I mean, I'm 6'2". You normally walk around about 195, even though I was 250 when I cut the ambulance and walked out 144. When I was 144, I looked like an African child. I looked like one of those kids starving in Africa. All my limbs were tiny, and I just had a big belly full of whatever that stuff is. Gross. I don't know all the. Like I said, I would just get a half gallon and try to make it last. I just drink enough to fill, because I wasn't even really sleeping anymore. It was, I'd sleep for 3 hours, wake up, heartbeat on my chest, take a couple more shots, go back to sleep, heartbeat on my chest, just repeat. It was just, yeah, it was bad.
That physical dependence was extraordinarily high.
Which is crazy, because I was in the hospital for a month and a half. When I came out, it was done. I didn't have any, they didn't give me any more benzos or anything. I mean, here and there. What?
I was going to say, so what do you want people to learn from your story? I mean, because all of us have a story to tell. We all learn from each other's, stories. And from, my experience, nobody's story is better than the others or worse than the others. Like, we all had a problem with alcohol. It's not a competition, right? I mean, how many comments I get daily, like, oh, well, you weren't that bad, or, but like, helping others. I mean, you reached out to me, you wanted to share your story. What are you hoping that someone gets? If you could help just one person change their life.
Oh, I'm thinking, I'm starting that podcast. What alcohol cost, which I love the Jews. It has nothing to do with that. It just, alcohol kills 3 million people a year, I kind of relate to that. And
yeah.
But I don't know. I talked to my
coach. You plan on starting a podcast?
Yeah, I did. I already started, but I haven't made a video yet. I was going to see how this goes first. And I'm kind of, my deal is, have people reach out and talk to me, and just maybe help them even with like the logistics, of maybe getting on Social Security, or I don't know, you know what I mean? Just learning
a place to help, like,
start over.
Yeah, starting over, just a person to reach out to if they're in the, I think everybody has a different person that they vibe with. Maybe you have the same story as another person that I've had, but maybe a different person vibes with you better, and they want to reach out to you and have you, help get them through what they're going through. I think everybody's story is super powerful and very important. And I just think there's so much in people telling the rawness of what they've been through, because a lot of people just are going to keep drinking and thinking that it's just never going to catch up to them. But eventually it does. And you never know when you're going to cross that line to be a full-blown alcoholic, rock bottom in the hospital.
Yeah, I figured on here I just scan over it, just because, I mean, like I said, like 9 different lives, and I couldn't, it would take years to go through it all. But I was like, I think kind of entertaining, humorous kind of podcast where I tell my stories, but end it with like a serious note, kind of like how bad it gets. And like, you don't want it. You don't want neuropathy to defeat at 40 years. It took away the thing I love the most, skateboarding. I can't do that.
Well, and alcohol can take a lot of things away from us that we love the most, and I mean, it destroys families.
Yeah, it didn't destroy my family. I don't know how that didn't happen, but it didn't. At least not yet. My son's 24. I mean, I hope he leaves soon at this point, but he's working on it. He's working on it. But I mean, kids stay at home a lot. I left I was basically on my own when I was 14. I grew up real fast, so I kind of doing the opposite with my son. I give him all the time he needs. I mean, I'm in a hurry. I like having around.
Yeah, kids are amazing, and I like how you mentioned finding the humor in it, because I mean, so many people will comment and be like, why is she laughing? I'm not laughing at the actual disease. It's very serious.
Oh,
But you know what? We can't,
myself was hilarious.
like, how ridiculous we were, and we can like laugh at how stupid we were. And I mean, some things aren't laughable. I mean, and I know that, but I mean, getting through it, we have to get through it how we're gonna get through it. I mean, what are we gonna like just be like so sad and depressed the whole time and not, you know, make any jokes about how ridiculous our life was when we were consumed with alcohol?
The first time I pooped myself was pretty funny, but the second time wasn't so funny. It wasn't funny anymore after. Yeah, I had diarrhea for 10 years straight. I mean, literally 10 years. Like I didn't have a serious poop until I got sober. It was
You
weird.
had colitis, right?
Yeah, I don't even know what that is, but yeah.
My husband has ulcerative colitis, so it's like an inflammation of part of the intestine. And I'm not a doctor; I don't need to go into details, so people can go research it. But it does. His issues were one of the reasons that he quit drinking. I mean, one of the many reasons he quit drinking. But the alcohol flared up the colitis, which then in turn, I mean, many times you could probably poop your pants.
See, it makes me laugh every time I hear it. But yeah, it's not funny when other people got to clean up. I was wearing a diaper at the end. Yeah, that's not funny. Like I said, I turned into an 80-year-old person overnight. It's pretty wild. And yeah, coming back from it, it's been wild. You know, I went from a wheelchair for about 6 months to a walker for about a year. Then now I'm at a cane. Like I'm going back younger again. I'm going to put in reverse, walking more every day, trying to stay eating right. You know, I eat a lot of protein, and basically all I eat now is chicken breast. That's about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Never ate a carnivore, chicken breast.
Well, I rode a skateboard my whole life, so I mean, I didn't really need any other exercise than that. So now, you know, I'm kind of trying to figure out other ways that I can possibly, even because of my feet and whatnot, that I can't even exercise at all. But yeah, I was thinking about going back to work too, but you know, with my headaches and all that stuff. I mean, my headaches don't happen as much, but they still do. Actually, I just thought my wife was telling me that I thought if I got myself stupid enough, I wouldn't have headaches anymore. That's funny. I really thought like if I'm too smart, that's why I have these migraines, that's why I have panic attacks, because I know too much, I think too much, and if I drink myself stupid, then all those things will go away, which they kind of did, but I went a little too far. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just joking. Cut all this out, please. But
it's you know, there is humor, and we're able to share our stories. And I like, my platform is a place where people can come share their stories. And you know, maybe I didn't have, you know, neuropathy, or can't even pronounce some words. Maybe I didn't have liver disease or cirrhosis or, you know, certain things, no DUIs. But I mean, alcohol definitely has ruined a lot of pieces of my life. And, you know, currently right now, I mean, I'm working through something that happened several years ago because of alcohol. And I mean, it's disgusting. And I mean,
hospital, my wife told me, she said, I left you 2 years ago. And I was like, whoa. And yeah, we've been working on it ever since. I mean, like, she's in Minnesota right now. Her sister, 45, just got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. So, you know, and here's another thing. I got out of the hospital, I started smoking again. A month and a half without a cigarette. And I started asking myself when that happened, you know, I started like thinking like, why in the hell would I start smoking again? And then I thought in my head, well, I thought I was dead anyways. You know, when I got out of the hospital, I was like, well, I'm dead. I got cirrhosis. So yeah, I've been working on that. I'm down to like less than half a pack a day now. So, try not to go to vape. I don't want to do that because I think they're even worse than cigarettes. So I've been using the hospital stuff. I've been using the gum and I'm chewing now and patch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to start to see a future again. You know, I mean, I'm in a weird situation. You know, I still don't even know. I don't even have a MELD score yet. I'm kind of like thinking I need a fifth opinion from a new liver doctor at this point. But I mean, I got a funny story. You want to hear a funny one?
Yeah.
All right. So this is real recent. Rachel's in Minnesota or whatever. But so I don't even know how to use medical terms, but I pooped. I've been saying poop already. I poop white, you know. So I Google it. I'm like, what the hell was wrong with it? And Google it says, liver disease, bile ducts closed, that type of thing. I don't know if you know all that stuff, or the audience knows it. I'm sure they do, but maybe they do. But anyways, I thought it was that. I'm like, oh crap, here it comes. I just recently found out a week before that I do have cirrhosis again from my new doc. So I put white, and then I'm like, oh whatever, I'm fine. I was like that, whatever. So then I put white again. Like, oh crap, I call Rachel in the emergency room. She's like, go to the emergency room right away. So I finally get enough guts to go back down there. I'm like, okay. Talk to the doctor. I tell him what's up, and he goes like, and then I started thinking, I'm like, oh, I ate 2 full packs of snack packs of what's it called? The rice pudding.
Oh, the tapioca.
I ate 8 packs of tapioca pudding the night before. He's like, you don't think that was it? I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I read it as the bile ducts closing. My liver ain't functioning right. He's like, if you eat corn, and I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. But I did think about it right at the last minute. And sure enough, he did all my blood work and said my liver's fine. And the doctor and all the nurses had a field day with that one. They were all laughing. But he's like, seriously.
Well, I mean, I think we psych ourselves out. I mean, if we see anything weird with anything in our bodies, especially, if we've had issues, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm dying, or I need to go get this checked out.
Well, I called everybody I know. I called all my, my cousins. They both have, cirrhosis. I called, I met a few people over Facebook with cirrhosis that I talk to sometimes. And I asked everybody in general, and they're all like, poop white? What are you, a dog? And nobody poops white. Nobody. I was like, you have to at least, right? And they're like, nope, not once. And I'm like, oh crap. So that's when I really thought it was my liver. But then I didn't, like I said, then I thought, well, maybe it ain't my liver because nobody with cirrhosis has poop white either. No, I don't know. I just had to go to the hospital at that point. But yeah, the doctor was definitely laughing, so were the nurses.
I can imagine. So ending this, I want to know, and the audience will want to know, like, how do you said that something just switched in your brain, but like on those hard days, how do you stay sober?
Well, I said earlier that I didn't do mocktails and all that, but I didn't in the beginning. But yeah, I've been to the casino. I don't go out much, but I've been to the casino a few times, and unfortunately I ordered O'Doul's or whatever. I didn't get O'Doul's. I got the 0-0. I got the Heineken, and it was $10. I was like, whoa, how was that $10? But yeah, I mean, it worked. It calmed my nerves. I mean, but I really don't crave it that much. Like I said, she drinks at home, and it doesn't faze me at all. She's a norm. I mean, sort of. I don't know if you believe in that, but
I mean, I know people, and I've done a podcast with one of them, or probably a few of them, but one in particular, because her husband was in the room when we did the podcast, and I just remember so vividly. He described how they went camping, and he had one beer open the whole entire time and sat it in the fridge and didn't even finish it. Like, he would just take a sip and be done with it. Oh, and I was like, if you would have given me one beer, I would have finished that 6-pack in like less than 2 hours. I mean,
people say that's bad if she does that, and like how it's disrespectful. But she's got a good point too. She's like, after what you put me through, what you even tell me I can't have a couple of beers?
Valid point.
I mean, it doesn't bother me that much, but lately it's been getting to me a little bit. Like, come on, but it's not because it's just because I don't like kisses. It tastes, like I can taste it, so it's kind of like it puts me off a little bit. Back in the day,
it's not that we crave alcohol because other people are drinking it. I think it's more so we know the other side of not drinking. Like, we know how much better and healthier we can be, and when people drink, we're like, well, I mean, you could feel a lot better without it. I don't know, maybe.
I can't remember what it's like to be drunk. I dream about it, but I don't actually get drunk, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I can't remember what it's like to be drunk. It's been 4 years. It's like
I can. My body holds the hangovers. Like, I can still feel the hangovers and like I mean, I was just reading Jordan's book. I just had a podcast with him. I'm not sure if you listened to that one, but as I was listening to it, my body just was like burning because the description of the alcohol, and I was like, oh, I never want to touch alcohol again.
I'd wake up sometimes and I would go, I don't know. I'd go, like I thought I had asthma. I don't know what it was. I still don't know to this day if it's dry throat or what, but I'd wake up and I don't know what it was, but dude, that was scary. It felt like I got the wind knocked out of me. It was happening quite often, but when I quit drinking, it stopped. I don't know what that is. I had a couple of things happen that other people don't talk about, like music. I had to quit listening to music for like 3 years. Yeah. I've never heard anybody say that. Yeah, it was nuts. It was driving me insane. It was songs I don't even like. It would just play on the radio in the background or something. It just stick in my head and I couldn't get it out for like, it was nuts. I don't know what that is. I know.
Especially country songs. They're always about alcohol.
Well, it's got to do with alcohol. I'm sure of that because it's finally stopped. But something in my brain, like the alcohol did something to where I don't know. I guess it's the tunes. I guess that's kind of how they make music nowadays, right? Algorithms type music. Like not like back in the day, it wasn't like that. I don't think. Like music, they got these catchy tunes that stick in your head on purpose. Like the newer music. It seems like. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. We were just in Key West, and I've had a couple people ask me, and I don't know when this podcast will go out, probably in 2 or 3 weeks, but people ask, like, how did you do down there? And I was like, honestly, I wasn't tempted at all. Like, the music was playing, people were drinking, people were stumbling. You could see them stumbling down the road, but none of it appealed to me. I mean, I just think like once we set our minds to not drinking, it can be easy to stay quit if you really focus on the healing parts and, getting through those bad days.
It's pretty wild. I just had a bar move next door to me. That's crazy. I live right next. I mean, I literally can walk 20 feet to a bar. That's nuts. Like somebody's really tested me. But no, I mean, I could just, anybody could go 5 minutes away and get alcohol. So, but yeah, it's kind of annoying hearing all these drunks out here and all. They're out there late at night playing cornhole and stuff, or whatever that's called. I don't know the correct term for that now.
Or like being on vacation and seeing people start drinking as soon as they wake up. And that was me. I would go on vacation and go down and get breakfast and drinks. And now I was like, can I have some grapefruit juice? Can I have a lime to make it pretty? It's still fun to have, I don't drink juice at home. So when I go out, I'm like, I want some juice.
Yeah, I always had that dream that when my son turned 21, we'd be out in a fishing boat having his first beer together, and that's gone. That's kind of weird. I think about that weird stuff sometimes, but
yeah, no, I get that.
Well, I'm still on it. Oh, sorry, what?
Oh no, what were you saying?
I'm still on the old kick of I don't know what to do next, other than I mean, it just seems like somebody could hit up my podcast or hit up whatever to watch it if I ever start making some videos here soon, which hopefully you said 2 weeks. I have at least a couple of videos up there. I'll just talk more about my life story and certain situations. Like it's kind of be semi-entertaining, and they could call me and talk to me or whatever. Like I think that's about what I can do right now. Other than I don't know, just see more doctors. I gotta get some kind of what's it called? Some kind of overall like
diagnosis.
Yeah, like. So, I mean, I don't expect him to say you got 3.5 months to live. I don't expect that, but I kind of do want some kind of baseline to where I could see where I'm at, what I could do. But, like you said, I didn't lose my family. I mean, right now I have my health to some degree. It's a lot better than not drinking, that's for sure. And I don't recommend it to anybody. But, serious note. But, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I stand. I could. Like some of those guys say they're excited he came back like a year later, I don't know I don't know what's in store for the future, but I know that I took it way farther than I had to.
I think a lot of us do. And that's why, sharing our stories is very crucial. And, I mean, somebody sharing one story could change somebody's life. And so if you start sharing your story out there to the world, people will find you. And
the number one rule they say is, right, nobody will quit. Because, you can't get anybody to quit, but you can definitely get somebody to think about it.
Exactly.
If your kids can't get you to stop drinking, then no stranger's going to be able to do it. But they can watch you and hear your story and definitely get it put in their brain that it's not, it's a good idea not to do it.
Yeah. And a lot of people have, questioned me or, in why I'm doing this. But from that moment that I put out that first video and I got all those comments about them resonating with me and how they want to quit drinking, or I've helped them quit drinking through my videos just by sharing my story, other people's stories. I mean, I can't tell you to quit. I can say, yeah, just do it. And then people criticize me for doing that. But really, like, listening and just being able to throw other people's stories out there, I think is very crucial, because maybe people don't realize that they have a problem until they listen to somebody's story that's very similar to their life. And they're like, oh my gosh, I have a problem with alcohol.
Yeah, I binge watched every one of your videos that I could find in like 3 days. So yeah, 'cause I mean, when I hit you up, I only saw one video. It was the latest one at the time, and yeah, I've watched almost every. I mean, I've watched a lot, and I liked yours the best. I don't know. There you go. Give you some
I
credit there.
appreciate that. I have some great people that come on here, and I love.
I know you feel a little insecure that you don't have a better story of dying, but that's a good thing. You learned faster than everybody else.
I didn't have that yet. I've had some pretty bad rock bottoms, and people tell me like I'm not authentic because I haven't shared everything. Well, you know what? Sometimes for the privacy of my own family, I don't have to share everything. Everything, like, you know, like the public doesn't have to know everything. I mean, I know people.
I'm so glad you save a lot of stuff. I think you save a lot of stuff for your private. You do counseling too and stuff.
I have some coaching clients.
So you probably.
But like what I've gone through, and that's the thing, like what I go through that people don't see on the public, it helps me be able to coach people behind the scenes, because then I can open up more about what's happened, what I've done, or what I've gone through, etc. And then I can relate to them. And that's like, people ask how I coach, and I was like, I have a lot more to my life than everybody knows, which helps me be able to coach people, because I can relate a lot more than people think.
Neither one of my therapists drink, and well, at least the one helped me a lot. So you don't have to drink. You don't even have to drink at all to help somebody.
Yeah, you don't have to have risen from your deathbed to help other people.
Then again, I mean, you could just drink tonight and die in a car accident. I mean, I don't even like saying accident, car wreck, because like the car accident made by the insurance companies is actually car wreck because it's always somebody's fault.
Right.
I like the car wreck, not a car accident. But yeah.
Well, Matt, I really appreciate you being here, telling your story, and we can't wait to see where your podcast goes. And can't wait to hear more about your story. And I'm excited to see, because I think a lot of people in your shoes are very impactful to the sober community, because you have such a story that can help other people get through it. Like, oh, I don't want to get that far. That can actually happen. I mean, I think it makes people, I hope it helps people think a little bit more about their.
Well, I didn't think for the last 2 days to even kind of pinpoint to where it switched from being a norm to an alcoholic. Because I mean, and then it seems like forever too when you get sick. It's like, man, it took 10 years. That's usually the magic number. It seems like with the liver disease is that you don't get cirrhosis. It's like 10 years of hard drinking. It seems to be the magic number. But I mean, I'm sure it happens faster and shorter, for other people. But yeah, it seems like it takes forever. But then when you look back, it took 3 seconds.